Hello everyone and welcome back to BBQ Basketball. I'm Andrew Williams.
And I'm Kendall Caps.
We're here to break down the NBA playoffs for you, one of my favorite times of year.
Absolutely, it's playoff fever. You got a lot going on in the world of sports. And finally the playoffs here after all that anticipation with everything going on.
It's been one of the most interesting regular seasons we've seen in a long time in basketball. With all the trades, you've got new players, most likely a new MVP in Derrick Rose.
All right, well, let's start there in Chicago. They're the 1 seed. People didn't really necessarily think they were going to be that good coming in this year. They thought they'd be better with the addition of Boozer, but it's been really impressive what they've done.
Well, the way Derrick Rose is playing is pretty incredible. It's hard to find a player that can play this well, and I think the Bulls may have worked their way into another superstar after Michael Jordan left.
Well, do you think Indiana's going to be able to put up a fight at all?
You know, I like Roy Hibbert, I like Darren Collison, and I think the Pacers might win a game, maybe even 2 here, but I think Chicago takes this.
Yeah, I think so too. How about in the 4-5, Orlando playing Atlanta? 2 teams that they seem to have played each other a lot recently.
Well, Orlando swept Atlanta last year. Atlanta's snoring through the playoffs this year. They're just not playing 1-6 in April. And I think it's going to be similar. I think the Hawks may actually win a game in this series, but I still think it's going to be short.
I do too. I think Orlando's going to surprise some people and look really strong once again and maybe be able to make a serious run. They have a lot of veterans.
They know how to bring a defensive effort in the playoffs that I don't think the Hawks have learned how to produce yet. Well, how about over in the 3-6 matchup, we've got the Boston Celtics, last year's
Eastern Conference champion.
Going against the Knicks. Against the New York Knicks team with Amari Stoudemire and Carmelo Anthony. It's a new-look team. A lot of their players are gone, and they've gone on some bad stretches since the All-Star break. But do you think the Celtics can take it here?
Well, overall, both teams have been up and down a lot throughout the year. Even with the addition of Carmelo Anthony, the Knicks have been wavering. I mean, they lost 7 straight at one point when they got him. It didn't look good. They played well down the stretch. But I think they might be able to push the series to 6. I think they have the talent and the ability to break them down because Boston hasn't quite looked the same, but they have the pedigree to get through teams that they should get through, and they will in this series.
Well, see, I'm going to slightly disagree in that I think the Celtics will win, but I think the Celtics are going to steamroll through this series. I think this is a good matchup for them. They won all the games against the Knicks this season, and I think they're going to come out there and flip that switch that they hit in the playoffs and start playing the defense that they've been known to play, even without Kendrick Perkins. But to me, this late season swoon that Boston's been going through happens every season. Every year, they look like they're stumbling into the gate. They come roaring out in the playoffs, and people say, were you trying to get a higher seed? They say, we weren't really trying to get a higher seed. I think the same thing's going to happen this year, and I think you're going to come see the Boston Celtics.
Well, I think they're going to need some serious help from Shaquille O'Neal to be able to do something like that this year without Perkins. How about in the 2-7 matchup? We have Miami against Philadelphia. They swept them in the regular season series, Miami did.
Yeah, but Philadelphia's playing a lot better lately. They're really kind of started to gel as a team.
They did. I'd say a little bit after the All-Star break. They looked pretty good, and they played consistently well against some really good teams.
Yeah, I think they're starting to buy into their coach's system. Elton Brand's starting to play well. But in the end, I think this series could go 6. It could go 7. But I think Miami's going to play.
Yeah, I think so too.
Too much from the big three. Well, how about over in the Western Conference? You've got San Antonio, the number 1 seed, taking on a Memphis Grizzlies team that actually you might not want to face in the first round.
Well, it's kind of funny. You look at what Memphis did that final day, benching everyone against the Clippers to essentially make sure they were going to be playing San Antonio as playing Los Angeles.
Playing them healthy, whereas San Antonio played for their number 1 overall seed and lost Manu Ginobili for the first game.
Doubtful for the first game.
Memphis can go in and steal a game in San Antonio with the way Memphis is playing. This could be a tough series.
Also another team, yes. They've played well against good competition the last month or two. I really like the way they've come along, and they definitely could push the series. Ultimately, I think San Antonio is going to find a way to get it done.
I'm going to take an upset here. I'm going to take Memphis. I think they might shock them here. Wow. Let's see, maybe in a 6-game series, but I think they could come out and surprise San Antonio, who's not playing that.
All right, how about in the 4-5, Oklahoma City, Denver, maybe going to be the most exciting matchup in the first round of the playoffs. High scoring, first in offense in Denver, 5th from Oklahoma City. There should be a ton of scoring. Should be a great series to watch.
Well, and to me, what's great about this is that for a 4-5 matchup, even though these teams are in the middle of the pack in the standings, either of these teams could lay claim to being the best team in the conference with the way they've played lately and since they've made the new additions to the teams. The Kendrick Perkins trade.
That makes a big difference. Yeah. Grabbing Kendrick Perkins, a guy that can play down low, and along with Ibaka and a couple others, they have some serious bigs. They have scores. They have a guy at the point. They have a lot of pieces in place to make a run.
Well, and I think the Nuggets stretch this to 7 with Danny Gallinari playing well and the Chris Anderson likes to step up in the playoffs. That home crowd gets going. It's going to be hard to win in Denver, but I agree. I think
we're going to see a great series that goes 5. I think 5 close games. Oklahoma City wins 4.
Okay, well, how about down in the 3-6 matchup? You've got the Dallas Mavericks playing the Portland Trail Blazers.
And Dallas didn't want that matchup. They tried getting that 2 seed. They came out at halftime against New Orleans and put it on them in that second half, putting pressure on LA to beat Sacramento, which almost didn't happen. But LA took care of business one way or the other thanks to Kobe. And because of that, they get the matchup they didn't want to see in this first round.
The Trailblazers, who since the Gerald Wallace trade have been on fire.
And they're 2-0 against Dallas with him, 0-2 without him.
Yeah, LaMarcus Aldridge playing really, really well.
You figure if Aldridge could maybe cancel out what Nowitzki does because of what he's blossomed into this year, I really like Portland's chances.
Yeah, I'm going to take Portland. Dallas lost in the first round the first 4 seasons. I think there's another Mavericks collapse. It'd be nice if they had Kareem Butler. They don't. It'd be nice if Jason Kidd was a year younger. He's not.
He's not.
I think Portland's going to take this.
I actually disagree. I think they still have enough talent and enough wherewithal to get through this series. But then I think they're going to run into our 2-7 winner, the LA Lakers. LA got the perfect matchup through all of this. New Orleans is the only team that made the playoffs in the West that had not beaten them during the season. LA went 4-0. Defeating them heavily in 3 of the games.
Well, to me, you have to wonder if maybe LA didn't plan it that way. If maybe once they got to within a game of the Spurs, they saw the way things were shaking out. They knew they'd rather play New Orleans than Memphis. All of a sudden, they're in a close game with Denver. Kobe fumbles the ball away at the end. The Lakers lose 5 in a row to secure that number 2 seed and then win out when they need to. I think the Lakers kind of knew that they'd be okay playing New Orleans in the first round. Because this looks like a 4-game sweep.
I think so as well.
Almost anywhere.
All right, well, do you have any predictions now? Who can come out of the Eastern and Western Conference?
You know, like I said, I think the Boston Celtics are going to turn it on like they always do this time of year. I think they're going to steamroll through the first round, play a couple tough series, and make it back to the finals, and I think they're going to play the Lakers again.
You know what? I'm going to go upset city somewhat. I'm going to take Chicago coming out of the East, surprising some, playing Oklahoma City coming out of the West. An even bigger upset.
Wow.
I think the addition of Perkins, if he continues to play well with them and fit in with their system as is, they're not going to need him necessarily early on. They will need him later when he's acclimated with what they're doing. And if they're able to, I think they might make a run.
And he's definitely proved what he can do in the playoffs as a defensive stopper, and that could be just what they need.
All right. Well, for Andrew Williamson, I'm Kendall Capps. We'll see you here on Fireside Sports again next time.